Yo, I'm Kenneth Walker, running back for the Seattle Seahawks.
Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks.
DK Metcalf.
KJ Wright. Hey, Burleson. You're watching NorbCam.
NorbCam.
You're watching NorbCam.
What a day. What a day it has been this Wednesday here in Seahawks land. Man, it's been a while since I've done a video. Apologize for being off for a while, but boy, what a time to reconnect with y'all, because it's been a day that I did not think was going to go this way. I don't know about you guys, if you were as shocked as I was, but the news about not just Tyler Lockett being let go, but DK Metcalf requesting a trade from the Seahawks, basically wanting to be put somewhere, taken somewhere else. I'm on this is a call-in show, so I want to hear you guys' reactions, your thoughts on the news of the day today, and find out just what you guys think of this. I see a comment right here, a little shocking here from Drake, say DK is not leaving. Does Drake know something we all don't know? I'm going to try to read your comments, take your calls as well, and kind of just work through this thing and kind of get a vibe from what everybody is thinking. One thing I feel bad for is that this was, DK's, or I should say Tyler Lockett's, kind of serenade goodbye, right? We kind of knew this was coming. I certainly thought he was not going to be here as much as I wanted him to find a way to be here. I just knew the money was going to be too much. And his productivity has gone so down that I kind of figured it was inevitable. But when we should have been spending today celebrating 10 years of Tyler Lockett, like immediately after he makes that announcement, we find out about the news that DK wants to be traded. And it kind of overshadows the legacy and I think the amazing career that Tyler Lockett's had with the Seahawks. And it sucks that it kind of short circuits the luster of what that should have been. It should have been a kind of a sad but memorable day looking back on the career of Tyler Lockett. Instead, we're talking about DK Metcalf, because it caught me off guard when I saw the news today. I was on a shoot today, so I didn't have time to really spend on social media. I just saw one glance at my phone and boom, I see this thing. And I'd seen this tweet earlier in the week, a few days ago, and I thought, like a lot of people did, that was just clickbait, it's just conversation, of course, just people trying to drum up stories to get attention. And apparently there was much more reality to it. There was a rumor out there floating out that the Packers were interested in DK, but you never know how much is true to all this. And so, you get to it, and then when it finally does happen, you go, wow, I guess where there's smoke, there must be some fire, So, sad day, I think, in my opinion. You may have mixed emotions, but I guess for me, it's like I was certainly, like I said, prepared to lose one. I wasn't prepared to lose two. And I'm pretty bummed about the DK thing. But, it would have been more shocking if the Seahawks just decided to trade him and DK just had no control over it. But the fact that DK wanted this trade to happen, what do you do? I mean, obviously that means he didn't want to be here. For whatever those reasons are, we may not hear the exact details as to why he wanted this trade. It could be that they were already talking about the next contract. And as we know, I saw the writing on the wall last year when we saw those huge contracts going out, $30 million a year for receivers, Justin Jefferson breaking the bank, players like him. I was already thinking, oh man, we're, it's going to take a buttload of money to keep DK here unless he's willing to do the old, hometown discount thing. But he's in his second contract. Of course, he wants to get paid. He's in that position where right now, what a great place to be if you're a wide receiver or a quarterback in the NFL, because you're sitting on a pile of gold, man, if you're one of the top receivers in the league. And arguably, what level is he as a receiver? In the scope of things, is he top 10, top 15, top 20? I mean, there's a lot of good receivers out there. He's certainly probably not in the top 5, and arguably you can debate whether he's even in the top 10. But nonetheless, is he not in the top 10 because he's not that good? Or is he not in the top 10 because we just never made the most out of his time here? So this is all stuff that we can kind of debate when we talk about all this stuff. But yeah, just my own feelings. I'm just really, Just disappointed. I just thought there was going to be some way that we could, I thought in some crazy way with, Tyler Lockett could come back, renegotiate a deal, find a way to stay with the team. But I thought that wasn't really realistic. Lockett doesn't really owe the team that, and I think he was already setting up for his career, doing all the real estate stuff. Don't know if he's going to go to another team and continue playing, or is he just going to call it good, But that's it. The 10 years with the Seahawks, pretty amazing. And, he's been one of the most reliable guys. I mean, definitely the, heir apparent to Doug Baldwin, very similar in style, smaller guys, but great route runners, quick. I mean, Tyler Lockett early in the years, remember when he was returning punts and returning kicks and doing it really well? I remember he returned a punt against the Rams when they were still in St. Louis. I actually watched that game in person, watched Tyler Lockett's first game taking a punt back, and I was going, oh man, this is going to be fun to watch this guy's career. And it was. Returned kicks. I remember he returned a kick against the Bears in a home game some 2000, a year or two later. And then he had that nasty leg break. And, I don't think he was ever quite the same speedster after that, but he was still a fantastic route runner, ball catcher, and a guy you never had to worry about, just always a stand-up dude. And, it's kind of underrated, underappreciated, I think, because he just never made a lot of noise. Just quietly doing his job and, was never going to be one of those nationally recognized guys. But, his career, at least in Seattle, is coming to a 10-year end. And, I wish him well, and I hope we'll still see him around in Seattle when it's all said and done, whether he decides to play or not. But, yeah, with the DK thing, I guess – as far as my take on DK Metcalf and, his relatively short career, it's kind of weird to think that, you think of Lockett and you say 10 years, it feels like that was a really long time. And it feels like the memory of him was a long time because he basically came in 2015 right after the two Super Bowls we were in. 2 years after we won a Super Bowl, a year after we lost the you-know-what Super Bowl. And 10 years, right? And to me, it feels like DK Metcalf still feels like he's it still feels new to the team, but it's weird because he's actually been here 6 years, more than half the time that Lockett's been, and going on would have been 7 if he had actually played on this season. So it's weird to think that he's been here, almost more than half the length that Lockett has, because it seems a lot longer than that. Drafted in 2019, yeah, it's 2019. And I think my biggest frustration has been that we all knew what kind of a player he was. The speed, the size, the physical traits, it's hard to deny. And yet, with multiple coordinators, multiple quarterbacks, we were never able to truly unlock his potential, at least what we believe is his potential. And he would do some amazing plays. He would do some boneheaded plays too, whether it's against the Cowboys, running and giving up and letting the ball get knocked out of his hands short of the goal line, or the fights and personal fouls, or not running good routes, or the fumbles. There's a lot to point your fingers and go, well, he did kind of mess up a lot. DK was not exactly the perfect receiver. He was just like the perfect physical specimen. But there were a lot of things on his game that he definitely had to keep working on, and he did improve. He definitely improved that personal foul issue early in, or this past year. Had less flags, I think, than any other season that I can recall. But I think what I fear the most is that he's going to get picked up by somebody. Some team in the NFL, whether it's in the NFC, AFC, hopefully not interdivision, that would suck. But he's going to get picked up by somebody. He's going to make a lot of money, and we're going to get some compensation for it. Hopefully a good draft pick. I saw Sam Dog, the Infamous 253, saying, man, if we're going to trade him, we got to get a first-round pick. But I don't know, man. Deebo Samuel was traded for a fifth-round pick, right? And now, granted, he's a little bit long in the tooth compared to DK, but still, I don't know. We'll find out what the trade value is, the perceived market by teams for DK Metcalf. What are they willing to pay him, and what are they willing to give up to get him from the Seahawks? I would love to see a first-round pick, but I personally don't think that's going to be in the cards. I think we'd be lucky if we get a third. If we get anything higher, then it's like bonus. But just, I don't know. he's not he's not first team all pro material, right? Like I said, he's not top 5, and arguably maybe in top 10, you can make a case that maybe he's not even in the top 10. But again, whether do teams look at it and go, well, DK Metcalf's a great receiver. Seattle just didn't know how to use him, so we're going to pay him like he's a top 10, top 5 receiver. Or did Seattle try to use him and just DK not as good as he could have been, given his physical skills? My biggest fear is that he goes to another team and he does like what the Mariners do. You have a player who plays on a crappy Mariners team, they trade him, and he goes on to a team that all of a sudden this player blows up and goes and wins the World Series. That would be like the biggest stab in the back, right? To feel like we had DK Metcalf for 6 years, we get rid of him, send him to another team, and this other team locks his full potential, becomes one of the greatest receivers like Randy Moss, and goes to a Super Bowl. That would be like, okay, I'm happy for you, DK. Great for you. But man, that would just suck as a Seahawks fan, because as a Mariner fan, we've seen that way too many times. Guys, struggling in turmoil on the home team, and then they go to another team and just, well, look at this guy, he's fantastic. Just get him out of Seattle. So we'll find out. We'll find out what the street value is worth, and what they're going to try to do with him. And will he be a different guy? Will he be something that we haven't seen in 6 years and multiple coordinators? So in some ways, the sour grapes in me hopes he doesn't do that he doesn't find success with another team, because like a guy who breaks up with a girlfriend and that girlfriend goes off, and the last thing you want to do is see your ex-girlfriend go and marry like this stud of a guy and live happily ever after, right? Because then you feel like, man, I just must have just sucked as a boyfriend then, because she's like way happier and with a much better looking, much more successful dude. Man, I feel like a worm right now. So man, the lines are starting to pile up, so I definitely will get to them in a second here. But we'll see. I do want to find out what you guys think. Are you happy to see DK go? Are you sad to see DK go? I personally was hoping to. Again, I don't know. I think I'm just one of those guys who tends to be reluctant to change. I wanted Pete Carroll for another year. I thought Russell Wilson was going to stay. I thought DK, they'd get something worked out, and he and Geno, the new coordinator, would get something going, and we'll see what he was really made of. And obviously, DK, or the powers that be, decided that wasn't going to be the case. So I'm sad that we just never saw his potential realized. But that's just me, but I want to know what you guys think. So keep on commenting in the comments. There's a pile of them. I can't get to all of them. I definitely do want to get to the calls and try to give everybody some due time. So again, the number is right here on the bottom of the screen. 202-926-1076, and then you'll be prompted to enter the code 696153. I'm going to take to the phones. I just want to show you one thing here. If you saw my open, like even this move here just sort of completely makes my open obsolete, because it goes like this, right? Where is it? Well, let me just play this here.
Yo, I'm Kenneth Walker, linebacker for the Seattle Seahawks.
Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks.
DK Metcalf.
Right there. I got Tyler Lockett as one of the prime guys in my open, and right after him is DK Metcalf. These two guys are gone. Nate Burleson, obviously, he's been out of the league for a while, but I got KJ Wright in here. KJ Wright.
You're watching NorbCam.
He's gone too.
Hey, bro, you're watching NorbCam.
I got to update. I'm gonna have to update my open, because everything is like completely out of date now. So sad day, man. And all of a sudden we don't have any receivers. We had 3 last year, really good ones, and now we've got 1. And what are they going to do? They're going to draft, pick somebody up. It just really puts some pressure now. John Schneider, the buck stops with you, man, because you're going to have to find a way to make this all work. And what does this mean for Geno Smith? Will Geno still be, look like he was the slam dunk to be upped for another couple years? But with these 2 receivers gone, are they still on the same route to have Geno Smith be the quarterback default while we potentially draft a quarterback here? Or do they completely just rebuild the entire offense with new coordinator, new position players? Going to find out here real quick. So let's go to the calls, and let me start. I think Sergio was in here first, so let me get Sergio on the line. It's been a while since I've done this, so make sure I'm technically making this all work. Sergio. Oh, yeah, Sergio. Are you there, Sergio? Can you hear me?
How you doing?
Man, I'm a little bummed. I'm a little bummed to say the least, man. This is a sad day to see two guys who have been such a core part of your offense suddenly both gone on the same day. What are your thoughts, man, on it? Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you partially sad and partially happy? What's your thoughts on two receivers leaving the Seahawks today?
Well, with Lockett, obviously sad to see him go. I mean, I've been a Seahawks fan for 12 years, watched 10 seasons of this guy. So obviously it hurts to see him go. But, I mean, it was expected, you know. I even called it yesterday. I was like, maybe Wednesday might be the day that he might be gone.
Yeah, it did feel like a countdown, right? Like it was just a matter of time before it was like pulling the plug on somebody. Yeah.
And then I'm in the middle of class. I pick up my phone. DK Metcalf requested trade. I'm like, what? What is going on here? But then I really thought of it. I mean, is this guy DK Metcalf going to play selfish? Like, how much does this guy really think he's worth? Like you said, $30 million. That's what like Justin Jefferson, Chase, Lamb. That's what they're getting. Is DK really worth that?
I don't know. What do you think he's worth?
I think he'd be worth like 20 APY, maybe down close to 15.
Well, you can't go to 15 because he's already 18 right now, so you can't go lower than that. It's got to be up. I mean, I agree. I think he's not. I don't think he's top 5 material. So you get in the top 5, you're looking at 35, 40 plus, right? Top 10 puts you in the equation of the 30. But if he's not even top 10, I think he's probably high 20s, you know, depending on what you see as his upside. So, you know. Yeah, I don't think he's as low as 15.
Move, I think, in my opinion, is he's doing a negotiation tactic. You know, put pressure on John Schneider. He goes out. He's going to go look for his value. Sort of similar to what Stafford did. You know, go talk to other teams, see what his value was at. And I think that's what DK is doing. I don't think he'll get traded, but if it's a huge overpay, you might as well let him go.
So you're saying, so you and there was another guy, Drake on the chat on YouTube says DK is not going. So are you saying that you think that this could just be a bargaining ploy, that he doesn't really want to leave, but he's just trying to use this as sort of like contract negotiation leverage to try to up his deal with Seattle?
Yeah.
Man, because one thing to say, we're going to let you look around and see what the market takes. I think they did with Matt Stafford. I don't think Stafford ever said, I want to be traded. I think Stafford was just, you know, he went to go look around. They just didn't renew his deal, right?
I want to go see my value.
But he never said, because he was at the end of his contract, he never actually said, I want to be traded. When you say to the team, I want to be traded, I don't know. I guess to me, it tells me a different message. Like, what my guess is that they probably had talks like, well, okay, so, you know, contract's coming up, right? So, well, what are you guys fixing to try to, you know, what are you guys prepared to pay? You know, maybe his agent doing the talking, right? And they're like, well, you know, given what we see, I think, you know, we could probably do 25, maybe 28 on the high end. He goes, well, you know, I'm worth 35. I wouldn't do anything less than 30. And, you know, and if they said, well, the most we can give you is 28, you know, or something like that. And if him and his agent decided Seattle's just not going to pay enough, then that would be the next step, right? To basically say, well, then if you're not going to pay me more than that, I want to be traded. So to me, that tells me if that were the case, well, then unless, like you said, unless Seattle changes their mind and decides, okay, well, we will pay you more, then that'd be the case. But I don't know. When you start saying I want to be traded, I feel like that brings other teams in the mix, and then, you know, to me, it signals that
I'm going to be optimistic. I hope we keep DK Metcalf. I can't see a wide receiver core with just JSN, Bobo. I don't even know who our third would be.
We have a bunch of guys who are like special teams dudes, but no real, you know, real strong. You know, they probably have to pick up somebody in the draft. But it's hard to lose two. It's hard to lose two starters, right? You're losing two starters. Granted that Tyler Lockett was kind of like third level guy who wasn't getting a lot of action, but he helped JSN get more action because he took targets, just took the defense away from him. That's kind of what DK did as well. So, now with all those two guys away, well, now it puts a lot of pressure on JSN. It's going to be like everyone's going to be focused on JSN, depending on who they get for the next replacements. But, there are some older veterans out there floating around out there receivers wise, but I guess the question is, do you want to kick the tires on the old guy that's out there who used to be great, or do you try to get somebody in the draft to replace them? But we got other needs to address too. So, yep, yeah, I'm still disappointed. I'd be shocked if they could find some way to keep him here. That'd be awesome, but I don't predict that to be the case. So, all right, one last question, Serge, before I let you go. Geno Smith, do you think they keep him? Do they extend him, or do they let him go as well? What do you think? Is Geno Smith still the quarterback in 2025?
I think he'll still be quarterback in 2025, and I think he'll get a 2-year extension.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too. And maybe they draft a quarterback in this class.
I was thinking
it's a developmental project.
Well, Dart is climbing up the board, so
he had a good
combine,
but
pick.
Hard to get him at 18. But if they do trade DK and they get a decent pick, maybe they could position their place up to get somebody, like Dart.
I don't think you're getting more than a third out of DK.
That's what I said too. Sam Dog, Infamous 253 said, I think we should get it. We need to get a first round pick at least. I was like, man, you're talking top 10 material right there. And again, is he really top 10 material? His stats would say otherwise. But then again, team might go, well, we think he is. You guys just didn't use him right. Kind of like the Broncos thinking about Russell Wilson. That's how that turned out. All right, so just appreciate it, man. I'm going to get some other calls here, but thanks for calling in, man. Go Hawks. All right, let me continue to go down the line. Let me go to Shakiba, I think. It's Shakiba. Shakiba, is that, did I get your name right? Shakiba from the 319?
Oh, yeah, no. I forgot to switch that. It's Landon.
Oh, Landon. Oh, well, it's a much more exotic name on your caller ID.
I don't know why it's like that. I'm sorry. It's all right.
That's okay. I'm going to change the name here so I know it. It's Landon.
I was going to say hi, Jed. I'm from the Discord.
All right. Well, tell me your reaction to the news. Lockett and DK.
So, the Lockett thing, I knew he was coming since the last time we saw him. I mean, literally, in week 18, I was like, this has to be it for DK. This has to be it for Lockett, and I figured yeah, it's gonna happen. DK, that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, no kidding.
It was literally an hour, I think, right? An hour before it was at 12:15, and then something at an hour. Hour later, Metcalf said we're gonna trade you. I'm like, okay. Oh, not trade.
Oh, he requested a trade. Yeah.
Requested a trade. Yeah. I'm just like, wow, it's crazy.
Yeah, I was shocked. I was working on a shoot, so I wasn't really on my phone. And then my friend, my business partner, Mike, was with me, and he goes, "Did you hear, Norm, that DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are going to the Raiders?" I was like, wait, what? What are you talking about? He goes, no, our buddy Rob, who's a Raiders fan, said, yeah. So I was like, wait a second, this is, I would have heard about this. But I looked at my phone and I saw the DK Metcalf request a trade, and I was like, oh my God, is he really? Maybe they are going to the Raiders. And then I saw, okay, I knew Lockett was, okay, he's gone, but the DK thing almost happened in tandem. So I think my friend was just reaching hey, Pete Carroll, bring back the old crew, down to the Raiders who are in their own rebuild. But man, I was just shocked.
Yeah.
I was really kind of in a state of shock. I had to keep working, but in my mind, I was like, oh my God, DK Metcalf wants to trade. What the heck is happening here?
Yeah.
So for you, are you one of those guys who liked DK and wanted to see him stay and get a deal worked out, or were you okay with him leaving?
I mean, my mom's a big DK fan, so I believe I would love to see him stay, but I don't know. I mean, whatever management wants to do with him is they could maybe use him for a cash grab, like you said earlier in the call. maybe use him for a draft pick. I could see that maybe they use him for a draft pick, maybe get higher in the draft and maybe get like a wide receiver or maybe a QB. We'll have to see, because they could maybe trade up Sam Howell or maybe get rid of Sam Howell and then maybe go to a different guy. But we'll see what they do though. I don't know. And also, I was gonna say, Joey Bosa has requested a trade, I believe, or he got released.
He got released. I saw that Chargers released Joey Bosa. That's crazy, right?
And I'm like, wow. And so you have Myles Garrett and Joey Bosa on the line, and I'm like, wow, those are two good edge rushers there. You could maybe try to go after them, but we'll have to see. Yeah,
I know. There's a lot of free agent guys that are like, out there. But again, it's that salary cap, man. It's like you just can't keep everybody. At a certain point, you got to pay the piper, and you can't give enough money to everybody you want to keep. It happens everywhere. The 49ers, a perfect example, right? Tebow Samuel. We kind of knew those chips are starting to fall. That Super Bowl team nucleus that the Niners have had for like the last 5 years of being like in the championships, in the Super Bowl. That window was, I knew that this past year was like the last, not this year because they sucked this year, but the year before was kind of like that. If you didn't win that one, they're in trouble, and they're in some trouble too. So Tebow Samuel going for he traded for a 5th round pick, Tebow Samuel. So again, that's not encouraging if you're looking at that trade.
Yeah, it's crazy. And yeah, the other Jada and all of them are in the Discord, so just to let you know all that.
Okay.
I don't know if they're going to go to the Discord.
I somebody asked me about that. I think it'd be too chaotic. I can't. I got already a bunch of lines of calls trying to get in here that in Discord with it. It's a little too chaotic. So I'm doing just calls tonight, phone calls, because it's a little more easier for me to control than it is when it's on the Discord. So we're going to do it that way. So anyway, all right. Well, thanks, Landon. Appreciate your thoughts. We'll continue down the line. Appreciate your call. Go Hawks, man. All right, let's go to Sutton Hawk. I know he's normally on the Discord. Let's get him in here from the 541. What's going on?
Buddy. What's up?
It's just a weird day, man. It's one of those days you almost feel like, am I just dreaming, having some weird nightmare? I'm going to wake up and go, oh, everything's fine. Lockett's still here. DK's still here. Okay. Just some weird nightmare. But no, it's a real thing, man. That's crazy.
I was in school when this happened. I was like, what the? Tyler Lockett and DK are both requesting a trade? Like, what is going on? Well, Kyler's getting cut. DK's requesting a trade. What is going on?
Yeah. What was your position? I think we all kind of are just sad that Lockett's such a likable guy. You don't want him to go, but you kind of knew it's like, it's kind of time. The money's just not there for him.
He's old.
But DK, happy that he's leaving? Sad that he's leaving?
Well, I'm kind of in the middle because I really, really like him, and I kind of don't like him at the same time. I mean, I like him because he's a good player, and he helped us win a lot of games. But at the same time, he's also a liability because he gets pretty mad whenever he has his buttons pushed. I mean, he got into a fight with a 49ers player a few years ago just because he shoved him.
Oh, yeah, there was a lot of them. That was just one of many instances. But that was at the end of the game. It was like a final Hail Mary kind of thing or something, and then the 49ers picked it off, and then I think he got shoved by Fred Warner, so he kind of got revenge on him and threw him to the ground and got the penalty. But it was kind of after the game was pretty much done anyway. But, yeah, he's had other games where he's had some issues, whether with his temper or I mentioned before the fumbling. Like this past year, man, he's had a couple of fumbles that, like, cost some games, It's like, oh, maybe he held onto that ball. We might have been in a different situation. But, yeah, I don't know. Will he be great somewhere else? That's going to be the real question because he's going to get picked up by some other team. And will he be? I don't know. Do you think some other teams unlock his potential and we'll be like, oh, man, why didn't we get him to do that when we had him with us?
I think another team will do really good with him. I mean, if he goes to the Raiders, I mean, he's playing for Pete again, so.
Well, they got a good quarterback.
They need a quarterback.
So they talk about a rebuild team.
I think they either released Max Crosby or just re-signed him. I think.
They just re-signed him to like the most expensive deal for a non-quarterback player in history. Some god-awful amount. 30-something million a year. I think 90 something guarantee. It was something huge. Yeah, for a pass rusher. Yeah, it's crazy, man. The money out there flying around, but there's only so much to go around.
But the thing is with me, I think Tyler Lockett, I mean, his time on Seattle was coming to an end. I mean, he's getting old.
Right.
All of us get old. I mean, he was probably still. He came in right after our Super Bowl runs.
Yeah, he did the year after we lost the Super Bowl. Yeah, I know. He had that broken leg. I mentioned the broken leg that he suffered, that nasty multiple compound fracture, and he wasn't never quite the same speed-wise, I think, after that.
Yeah.
But he was always that dude who just got things done and never complained, ran his routes, caught the football, beautiful catches. Yeah, he was great.
Never targeted him in our last year season.
Yeah, it was pretty much JSN. It was JSN and DK, and every once in a while, Tyler would get some crumbs. But yeah,
but Tyler played because he was just sliding every time he caught the ball. He didn't want to get injured. He was playing safe.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny because DK probably should have done that a few times, because there's some times when he fumbled the ball because he wouldn't go down, because he kept fighting like I'm indestructible. I'm going to keep going. Boop, ball gets knocked out. And it's like, just go down, man. You got the first down. You got the yards. What's one more going to do? You don't have to prove to everybody that you can drag 3 human beings with you and put yourself at risk, you know. Lockett did go down pretty quickly, but, you know, could he get maybe 3-4 extra yards if he just pushed through and took a few more hits? Yeah, maybe so. But, you know, he was possession receiver getting his job done and, you know, keeping himself alive and healthy and his brain intact. So I don't blame him for that. All right, man. Well, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. We'll see what happens here. Yeah. But, yeah, crazy day for sure. All right.
Hopefully DK goes to a team that finally suits him. It's not Seattle.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Like I said, I hope he doesn't find great success, because then I'll be really jealous, because I'll be frustrated.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, man, where was this? All right, man. Take care. It's good talking to you. All right, let me bring in Wolf. Wolf is next on the line. Wolf, what's going on?
I'm good. How are you? Can you hear me clear? Because last time we couldn't hear you, had to hang up on me.
Oh, I hear you loud and clear right now, man. Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, good.
Yeah, your thoughts, man. A crazy day in the world of Seattle football.
Yeah, today's a painful day for me. I was a Lockett fan. I kind of understand why they had to let him go, the money thing. But I think DK Metcalf asking for a trade, it kind of sucks for him, because I see him as like the face of our team. If you look at everywhere around, you talk to Seahawks fans or other fans, they all recognize DK Metcalf. So he's like one of the more popular, famous players. And he asked for a trade, and I think the reason why is he wants to move on to a team that has an actual starting quarterback that could win games and get into the playoffs and get it done in the playoffs.
Oh, a little jab on Geno Smith here.
Let me know where I'm wrong in that. Geno Smith hasn't done anything to prove to anybody that he's a playoff or a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. And I think in the long run, that's going to end up hurting John Schneider and Mike McDonald, because they're endorsing this guy. And I think they're talking about an extension with Geno Smith, which is fine. If you want to extend Geno Smith, that's fine. But where is the DK Metcalf extension talks? You got to extend the face of your franchise first, and then worry about the quarterback who's never won a playoff game. DK Metcalf's numbers are hurting, and I think it's because he's playing with a quarterback that's not good in the red zone. And he wants to move on to somebody maybe like Julian Love or Jordan Love, or somebody who can maybe get him the ball in the red zone in between the 20s, not just on deep passes. And I think, to be honest with you, I think DK Metcalf might be a little bit jealous that they're talking to Geno Smith first about extending him and not DK Metcalf.
Well, none of us will really know what's going on behind the scenes. Have they actually even talked about an extension? Maybe they've talked, and maybe the money wasn't where DK wanted it to be. Because as we know right now, we talked about it, the receiver market is blown up, right? I mean, we got guys making upwards of $40 million a year, like Jamar Chase, I think, is one of the top guys. Justin Jefferson, I mean, DK probably sees himself in that category that, well, if he's making 30, well, I should be making at least 33, 35 in 2025. So, and the Seahawks maybe not be in a position where they can, maybe they approached each other and said, look, we can't pay you, we can only pay you 25 or 28, So if that was the case, then I could see that if DK wants the money, which I understand because this is his second contract, this is probably the richest contract he's going to get in his career. I can see why he wants to get that, show me the money, right? So if they're not prepared to show the money, that's a big investment, that you got to be willing to probably shell out a good $30 million a year. Now, let me ask you this. So if you are John Schneider, is DK Metcalf worth $30+ million a year? Would you do it if you were the John Schneider? Wolf, you still there? Uh-oh. Wolf has disappeared. I seem to have lost Wolf. But anyway, I think his point was well made that obviously not a Geno fan, kind of blames Geno perhaps for the reason the DK decided to want to trade. Interesting take. Let me go to AD, Anthony D. He's one of the guys who first texted me, said, Lockett's gone, but he didn't react to the DK Metcalf side of it. Anthony D. from Yakima. What's going on, brother?
Hey, bud.
Yeah, man. Shocking day. I mean, you were shocked at the Lockett thing, which didn't surprise me so much. It was the DK Metcalf follow-up that really floored me. But at the end of the day, how did this news hit you?
DK traded, bud. I didn't know DK traded until you said something about it on your video.
He's not been traded yet. He's requesting a trade, which pretty much means that I don't want to be on the team anymore. Please send me to another team that I do want to be with, because I don't want to continue my career here. So it's pretty much what he's saying. It hasn't been traded yet. They got to work out a deal because technically he's still under contract right now. But the last thing you want to do is have a player who's under contract who doesn't want to be here, right? You get a very miserable situation. So, but yeah. So I know you were bummed about Lockett, but what was your reaction when you found out about DK wanting to be traded?
Well, I only found that out when you were saying when you said something about it in your video on YouTube, and I was like, what?
Yeah. So what was your thoughts on that when you first heard that from me?
That's what I said. I was like, wait, what?
So you were just in a state of shock. You did not see that one coming.
I didn't see that coming. I was more shocked about Lockett than DK, but I only found out about DK when you said something about that on YouTube, and I was like, what?
Yeah, I should have put this out there more regularly, because my feelings as we were counting down these days to next week's free agency period, that I had for a while now felt that Tyler Lockett was probably going to be gone after this year. I've said it, a number of times, but I hadn't really just made like an actual video announcement. I was gonna, and then the news came out before I had a chance to. So this is kind of it after the fact. But yeah, just with the amount that the Seahawks would have to pay for him if he were to stay and play another year, it was going to be way too much money. It was like crazy money. It was like in the $30 million or something like that. So they save a good $17, $18 million or something like that by letting him go. Unless Tyler Lockett was going to restructure his contract and just basically say, okay, no problem, I'll come back and pay and play for a lot less money. It wasn't going to happen. So, and it was kind of time, right? This last year didn't get the ball much, and 10 years is a long time. So I figured, the question is, will he retire or will he go play for somebody else? That I don't know. I don't think anything's been mentioned by him as to, who will he play for? Will he continue playing, or would he hang it up and go on to the next stage in life? So I kind of hope he doesn't, just so he can be one of those guys who stays as a Seahawks his whole career. But he could probably still play, in the right system. I don't think he's not going to be productive, because he's not a speed guy. He's a guy that just knows how to get open and catch the football. So somebody might decide to, I want to give you another shot. So,
well, I don't know if you saw one of my comments, I think on your Instagram or maybe YouTube. But when I first heard that DK and Lockett were going to be gone, I said, we are KFC cooked.
Oh, I saw that. I think you put that earlier in this on this chat as well. But
oh yeah.
Yeah, there it is. Well, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Lockett was kind of a non-factor, to be honest. It's more of like you're just more sad that the guy we've known all these 10 years is leaving. So it's more of a sentimental thing, but really from a production standpoint, he wasn't that crucial. And JSN was the primary guy, and DK Metcalf right underneath him, just shy of 1,000 yards again. So DK was plenty productive. He just could have been potentially more. Bless you. Could have been more productive. But
Thank you.
the question is, will he be uber productive on another team? And will we find out that Seattle is just another place where great players don't succeed and they go somewhere else and become Hall of Famers? I don't know. We're going to find that out in about a year or two to see where that goes. But, yep, sad day, man. Sad day for Seahawks fans. But, you know, this day always comes, and it's always the question is, do they leave on their own terms or do they leave with the team cutting them? In this case, we have one of each. One guy leaving on his own terms, essentially demanding to leave on his own terms, and the other guy kind of being told, well, we've had your run here, but it's time to go. So, yep, there you go. So we'll see what happens, man. But thanks for coming on and calling. Appreciate it, man.
You're
Go Hawks.
Bucks.
All right, man, you guys are busy tonight. Let's go to Laura Williams. At least that's what the number says from the 414. Laura, is this you?
That's not my name, but
yeah, you don't sound like Laura. What is your name?
That is not my name.
What is your name? So I can get it
Jordan.
right.
Jordan, I'm a Hawks fan.
Jordan?
Yep.
Okay, Jordan. All right, that sounds more right. All right, Jordan, your reaction to the Tyler Lockett and the DK leaving the Seahawks sometime soon.
I was at work earlier today with everybody, and I looked at my phone and I saw the Tyler Lockett get released right away. I saw it right away, and I don't know. It just hit me. I knew it was going to happen, but like it just felt different. And then 30 minutes later, DK requests a trade. And that just, it was like, come on, dude. You couldn't have given me a whole day.
I know. At least, let the first one sink in before hitting us with the uppercut, right? Yeah, that was brutal to have that news back to back. And I wasn't on my phone. I didn't see the gradual release to kind of get there's the Lockett news, and then have it. Like I said, I was on a shoot, and then my buddy tells me, "Hey, DK and Lockett are going to the Raiders." I was like, wait, what the hell? What are you talking about? And then I started looking, and that's when I saw in reverse order the DK wanting a trade and then seeing the Lockett thing. So I was all kind of getting my news all out of order. But I don't know. So obviously, I think everybody was shocked, but it seems like people have mixed emotions as to how good 100%. DK really is. And would he have been worth, the money he's going to demand, probably? What do you think?
He would have been worth probably a first-round pick a few years ago for trading. But now it's probably going to be around like maybe a low second-round pick, third-round pick is what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I know. DK. My buddy Sam Dog, the infamous 253, says if we trade Metcalf, it better be for a first-round pick. I don't know, Sam Dog.
That's what I hope. That's what I hope.
We now that we are putting him on the market out there for everyone to see, we hope it's going to be for that. What you want to hope is that you get two teams fighting out for him. Like two teams are totally in love with him, just like in a bidding war, and then basically just drive the price up and just rake some team over the coals. And
I hope it's a first round pick.
Problem.
But since he has one year left on his contract, teams are probably not going to offer real high. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I hope Lockett goes to the Raiders to reunite with Carroll, because that would be cool to see. But DK, I want them to somehow re-sign, because getting only like a third-round pick for him isn't going to be worth it.
That's going to be interesting, because I see, and you're obviously sounding like someone who still thinks there's a chance DK could end up still being here. So I guess DK can ask for the trade, but he's not free to just go because he is still technically under contract for another year. But Chris, the worst thing you can have is a player who says, I want to be traded and still stuck on the roster, basically saying, I don't want to be here. And then pouting because I've already told you I don't want to be here, and now I'm stuck here because you guys wouldn't make a move. So then you got an unhappy guy who already can show signs that when he's unhappy, he's a real pain in the butt on the sideline, right? Imagine an upset DK who doesn't want to be here, still under contract and roaming about the sideline, and that would not be good.
He already gets upset enough, but now with that, you got a good point there.
What'd be funny? What'd be hilarious would be Pete Carroll gets Russell Wilson back and Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. As crazy as that is, it's not out of the realm of possibility when you look at the situation. Now, they just spent a whole bunch of money getting Crosby signed, so I don't know.
I just saw pop up on my phone that if Geno Smith becomes available, the Raiders don't rule them out, it said.
Oh, I would. I know that Pete Carroll loves Geno Smith. I mean, I don't know about Russell Wilson. I don't know where he stands with him. We don't know how that whole thing went down. Obviously, when Russ was let go back in 2022, but I know that Pete Carroll and Geno Smith. I mean, Geno Smith has said many times Pete Carroll kind of is the guy who gave him the shot, right, as a backup for eternity and gave him the starting position. So he owes his late career bloom to Pete Carroll. I could totally see it that if they didn't renegotiate or extend Geno, that could happen. And I still think it's a possibility they could, in light of recent events, that could the Seahawks decide to pivot and not re-sign Geno Smith and just totally rebuild the offense, because that would save them. That would save them a lot of money, because re-signing Geno, all those escalators that he got in that Rams game, those are null and void if they release him before the deadline. So he only gets that money if they keep him on the roster through next week. So if they release him, he loses all that money that he gained by hitting all those accomplishments at the end of the season. So
that would be kind of like a D-head move.
Slap in the face.
Seattle voted for him.
I know. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I still think that Geno Smith will get extended. It just seems like you hear every time Mike McDonald says, "What do you think?" Is asked, Geno Smith, is he your quarterback? I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be. He seems pretty adamant that he's going to be here. But then again, John Schneider, when asked during the combine, he was on PFT Live, and they asked him about, so we're hearing news about DK Metcalf potentially in a trade. What do you have to say about that, John? And John said something like, that's news to me. Quote, that's news to me. I just listened to that a few days ago, and then here we are. He's wanting to get traded. So if it was news to him, well, he was lying through his teeth, right? But we know that they've done that before. The whole Russell Wilson, I want to be here and win more Super Bowls in Seattle. Well, they all knew that he was going to be gone, so you can't really trust what those guys say anyway. But who knows, man, what's going on out there behind the scenes? But we'll see.
Snyder's just giving all of us Hawks fans PTSD from this situation. Is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? Is it not going to happen?
There's a lot of pressure, man.
I ultimately think we're going to extend Geno for probably about 2 years left, so that way we can draft somebody to sit behind him. Mm-hmm. I think we're probably going to trade DK, because an unhappy player in an environment like that is not going to go well. And then if we don't get a first-round pick for DK in the draft and we only have one first-round pick, I do not want us to take a receiver in the first round. But if we somehow get a first-round pick for DK, one of those picks should be best player available, and then the other one should be a receiver if they drop to us.
Wow, so you want to go receiver in the first round with the pick that we do
Only
have.
If we have two. Only if we have two first-round picks.
Otherwise, best available. But there could be. So, I mean, I think the ones that are top of the line, you got both trench players. We need offensive line. We need defensive line. We need potentially a quarterback. Guard, this could be one of the most important drafts John Schneider's ever had. This is kind of a make or break thing for him this year. So
definitely. If he screws this up this year, I think he's got to be on the hot seat. Like these last couple of years, it's been very, very skeptical of him.
He's had some moves that have not exactly panned out. Just with all the players that we released last week or a few days ago, Draymond Jones, Rayshon Jenkins, what was the other guy? Robertson, and then the guy we brought back, Fant. I mean, Fant, he didn't even play. He didn't play the whole year. He was injured from the get-go, and then he never saw the field again.
He played for like the first 2 games. He got hurt, came back for a game, and then got hurt right away.
Was it even that long? Okay, it seemed like it was 1 quarter and he was gone, but maybe it just seemed like it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I know. So all those moves, it was like, man, those are all the misses, man. Yeah.
Hopefully they can conjure up something this offseason.
We know that teams have done it. We've seen teams we've seen the Packers. They rebuilt that offensive line, and it's really good. And they did it without using a bunch of first-round picks. And then the Eagles, man, they won the Super Bowl, and they turned around their defense in a year. They picked up some really good players, turned around their secondary, and then here they are, one of the best, the best team in the NFL.
I have no questions about our defense. Our defense is really good. It's just we got to build that offense. We got Njigba, but now behind Njigba, if we get rid of DK and Lockett, we just have Bobo. That's it.
Pretty much.
And the rest of the guys like Cody White.
Yeah, a bunch of guys who've been like special teams dudes forever. Forget.
Yeah, they're going to have to do something if that happens.
Yeah.
Even if DK stays, you're going to have to get a solid receiver 3.
Yep. All right, well, we'll see. It's going to be it just makes free agency and the draft that much more interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like if it wasn't already interesting enough, now we got more holes we got to fill, right? So, all right, well, thanks for calling, man. It's good chatting with you, Jordan.
All right.
Have a good night.
Good night.
All right, go Hawks. Let's go to
Hawk.
Oops, I didn't hang up on Jordan. There you go. Jordan's gone now. Let's go to Sean from the 206. Sean, what's up?
Hey, what's up, Norb?
Got no receivers. That's what's up. We got one lone receiver now. What was your reaction? How did you find out the news? It seemed like everybody was either at work or at school, which makes sense because it was like in the middle of the morning when it all kind of went down. What was your reaction? How did you find out? And what was your reaction to it?
I was actually in class. First, I got the Lockett news, which I wasn't surprised about. I knew it was going to happen. And then the DK news, I just arrived in my 3rd period, and I was just scrolling on Instagram, and then I ended up seeing news on DK, and I thought it was just like those regular trade rumors that we're just used to.
Yeah.
But it said he requested a trade, but that kind of made me a little angry because it's different with rumors and requesting a trade. And
so you're angry at DK? Angry at DK?
Yeah, mixed emotions, because I want him to stay, obviously, but I don't know if you saw the reason why he requested a trade. It's because he wants to go to a contending team.
Well, okay. I have a little bit of an issue on that because I saw that too. I think that was from Schefter. I think Schefter put that out there. And he was the one who said, DK Metcalf is requesting a trade because he wants. I don't know if that was a quote that he wants to play for a contender, or is that Schefter just making connections of alluding to why. I think that's a little bit of speculation, a little bit of reach there, because it wasn't like there was a quote there from DK Metcalf saying that. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. I took it too. I was like, oh man, that's kind of a jab on the way out the door. So, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that all plays out. But so. You were one of the fans who wanted to have him extended to be here for at least another 2-3 years.
Yeah,
right?
But I didn't want him extended for like Justin Jefferson type of money, like $30 million. He's not that type of player, but I know he's gonna want that type of money. But he doesn't deserve it, man. Like it's just, I'm sorry, he just doesn't.
How much would you have paid him?
How much did we pay him last time? Like
I think he's right now $18 million.
I would
this year is $18 million.
You know what? Just to make him a bit more happy, I'd probably give him a bit more than that, but nowhere near like $30 million.
And that might have been the issue. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I got Sky High Aviation going to join me here shortly to help me break some of this down and answer some of your calls. But yeah, what do you think about? Do you think this changes anything with Geno Smith, or are you a Geno Smith fan? A and B.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to stick around? You are. You are a fan.
I feel like obviously I know he's going to want the extension because everyone wants to get paid as soon as possible. But I feel like I want him to play out his last year and see how he does, because if he still has these interception problems, then I don't see the point of keeping him because he's not getting any younger, and it's just we got to be ready for the future. And yeah, that's why I think we shouldn't jump the gun to pay him right away.
Well, what I'm hoping is that, much like we do every time we change the coordinator, that this year, the coordinator with Clint Kubiak coming in with his new system, suddenly Geno's going to have a whole nother, it's going to look totally different. We're going to have a run blocking that's successful and a pocket that's protected and run play action that's just going to work beautifully. And suddenly DK is going to wish he stayed here. I mean, that's what I'm hoping. But, we'll see. We'll see. A lot of decisions to be made in the meantime. But all right, Sean. Well, thanks for calling, man. Appreciate your feedback. We'll see how it goes. We'll get through this together. We'll get through this. It'll be all right. All right, Sean. Thanks. Go Hawks. Let me bring in. I got a few more calls to get to. I'm going to bring in Sky High Aviation. What's up, brother? It's been too long. It's been too long.
No, it has, Norb, and it's really good to see you. Hasn't really been a great day. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of.
It has been a little sad. I'm going to get to these other calls. Oh, Michael's going to be on the phone line. Okay. But yeah, real quick, we got to catch up a little bit. But yeah, give me your initial reaction of how you found out about the news and what went through your mind as you read the loss of these two longtime Seahawks receivers.
Yeah, I found it at work, first of all, which was kind of unfortunate. So it's kind of, to me, it's kind of shocking, right? DK's kind of become this, he's that staple, that franchise staple, that guy that, has just been there. Same with Tyler, right? We kind of had a feeling that Tyler his time might have been coming, but for DK, it just comes at a really awkward time. I really think that there were rumblings going around saying that Seattle might deal him. I was always in the the category of let's keep him and let's pay him, right? But obviously with our current cap situation, with the way things are going, it's just not possible. This team, obviously, right? This team is good, right? We know that we're a good, solid team. We can be better, and I think trading DK it's tough. It's tough. It's a very, very tough decision. And, I like to think that, I hopped in right as you guys were talking about, I want to play for a contender, right? I want to play for these guys, for this team or that team. I don't think that really DK would be like that because, 3 months ago, DK was saying how excited he was to play for this team next year. So it's a really weird situation and I have to wait for details to emerge. But to say the least, it's shocking. I really thought Seattle would have tried their best to keep him. He's obviously just a different kind of animal. There are very few players in the NFL that are like him. And even without Tyler Lockett, him and Jackson Smith and Jigba and a Clint Kubiak offense with Geno Smith at the helm, it creates options. It makes us a little more 2-3 dimensional. Now I just really it's a waiting game to see if he actually goes somewhere or if in reality this whole thing is a wash in the pan and we end up paying him. It's just too early to call, but shocking, I'd say right now. Do you think there are some people who think that DK is not going anywhere? This is just like a bargaining tactic. Do you think that there is a way that this could still work out to where everybody ends up happy and they do work out a deal and he stays? I always thought when a player wants to be traded, they don't want to be here anymore, either because they know they don't want to pay him the amount that they want, or they just don't want to be on this team for whatever reason. But you think he can say that, make that statement, and still get a deal worked out? You think that could still happen? I mean, yeah, I'm still waiting for this statement. I mean, it's a lot to process. But for DK Metcalf, I think I don't think there's any animosity towards the Seahawks organization. He's given everything. He's loved every single second that he's had here. And he's, I think for him,
anyway, right?
We think, right? Obviously, we have no clue what goes on behind closed locked doors, but I think for him, I really don't see I would say that the path back to the Seahawks is slim for him. I'm not sure how willing John Schneider is to put money out there for him, especially after requesting a trade. I think John is going to put the priorities of his request in front and try and find him a suitable place that will give us a valuable return. I would say that the odds are very slim that he does suit up in a Seahawks uniform next year. Now, in terms of teams that he could go to, I mean that really opens up a lot. And we're, a lot of people are looking at, possible second round pick this year or fourth round pick this year, and then first round pick next year. I think honestly, if I'm John Schneider and I'm going to trade him, I'm going to try and get the best deal possible for him.
You have to, yeah.
You have to.
Do you think they could get a first round pick? Is he worthy of a first round pick? We've seen Deebo Samuel. Of course, he's a little bit later in life here, but he goes to the Commanders for I think it was fifth round, wasn't it? Fifth round pick. I wouldn't compare Deebo Samuel with DK Metcalf, but DK Metcalf isn't exactly Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase either.
The thing is that wide receivers come aplenty in the draft. Some draft classes have better wide receivers than others, but wide receivers, they're just everywhere in the draft. So essentially, a lot of teams, what they like to do is trade big players and kind of stockpile on those picks, and they'll still have their eye on a really good wide receiver that they will be able to draft in that second, third, fourth round. But it's just, to think about it, like, there are teams out there that I think would be willing to throw a first round pick at DK Metcalf. I'm trying to really think of a few right now. Honestly, I don't see him going to an NFC West team. I don't think Seattle should trade him to an NFC team. But there are teams that I know, teams that are really contending at this point, that are really trending towards contending, and that are kind of desperate for a real good wide receiver like DK would be willing to
name a team that falls into that category who's in contention but are missing that piece. I would be willing to spend that money. I mean, it's hard to get that combination, right? Because some of the teams that are already there pretty much who are contending usually have most of their holes covered. It's hard to have like a big gaping hole unless you really just like that one piece over the top. But
a team that comes to mind really is a recent, actually a pretty familiar trade partner, right? I think Denver comes to mind when it comes to DK Metcalf, right? We saw the whole Russell Wilson saga, right? Russell Wilson is a far better player than DK Metcalf, and he's a much more valuable player. But I think Denver is a team that has a lot of young wide receivers, but is also a team that could use DK Metcalf and has the money to spend on him, especially with the way that Bo Nix performed under Sean Payton last year. I think they're really ready to not take that next step, right? They really want to take that next step. In terms of what do you get back from Denver, I really think that that's the real possibility that we could get their first round pick. I don't think that Denver would want to let go of many of their receivers. I think their receivers also aren't that, they're not. A lot of people use the Chargers as an answer. Chargers, let's trade DK to the Chargers. We'll get Quentin Johnson. The Denver Broncos don't really have that Quentin Johnson that they're willing to give away at that point in time. So, it changes things,
Speaking of the Chargers, you hear they released Joey Bosa?
They did, and I received a text from someone that said we should sign him, and I was like, well, what? He's going to play 8 games in 1 year. He's going to get injured. There's no point in signing him. I don't think the production level would be up that high either. He's not Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa is an absolute monster. So,
He's not terrible, but I know.
No.
I'm going to have you answer this question. I'm going to bring Michael, or I should say Abel, because he's on the phone here.
Oh my goodness, Abel.
Hello, FR had this question. You want to answer this question for all our viewers who are wondering the same thing?
Oh, why do I have a hole on my forehead? Oh, I don't have a hole on my forehead.
I thought they were talking about me because I actually have like this little dimple on my forehead. I had this growth like way back like 20 something years ago. It was actually like a bump and I didn't know what it was. I wanted to like poke it with a pin and like drain it, but eventually just went away, but it actually left a little indentation. I thought they were talking about me and then I realized, oh no, they're talking about you with a big hole in your forehead. You want to explain to people what that is?
Yeah, it's a religious thing. It's Ash Wednesday today, so
Ash Wednesday.
So it's a religious thing. Yeah. So there you go.
I just wanted to hear you answer why you have a hole in your forehead.
Yeah, it's not a hole. It's a mark. It's a mark.
It's a Catholic thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let me bring Michael in. All right. Sorry, I keep saying Michael because that's the name that comes up, but it's Abel. It's Abel. Where he's willing and able. Let's see if he really is. Abel, what's up?
Hello.
Man, how come you're not joining on video, man?
I don't think he has the link. I think you sent it to a different one.
Oh, did I not send it to you? Did I send it to you?
I think I accidentally. Okay, so I found the first one that I had, and it had Cameron in it, and Cameron's always busy, so I didn't.
Oh man, I thought I'd sent it to the right place. Well, that's okay. We got you on the phone, Abel. Yeah. But man, first of all, it's good to talk to you again. It's been a long time since we had the crew together.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had real talk, huh?
This is where I found you though. I remember Abel called in on the show and he was like, blow me away with his intelligent analysis. I was like, man, I need to get you on the show. So that's what we did with the Hawks Real Talk. But we got to talk about the storyline here about what happened today. How did you find out? I'm sure you were like a lot of our viewers here in school probably. But what was your reaction to both? What was your reaction to both of them?
Well, one of my friends walked up and they said, TK's requesting a trade. And I went, okay, that's like, I wasn't expecting it, Obviously, I knew that, like, the season wasn't crazy for DK, and I think a lot of people probably had higher expectations. But it was a shocker. But at the same time, I could see it happening, And then I was just kind of shocked, and I'm like, okay. And then a couple hours later, one of my friends said T-Lock got released, and I just was like, it's just crazy, right? Because, yeah, he wasn't crazy in production. He wasn't putting up massive stats. But no matter what, he was a pillar of the team, right? He was for me at least, when I thought of the Seahawks, Tyler Lockett was definitely top 5 on, like, that list of players. So it was a shocker. And then kind of when I went from that is like, wow, JSN is now the guy. Like, you used to think, wow, it's kind of like a 3-headed monster, even though production went down for T-Lock. But at the same time, or this whole year, what we were kind of saying was like, it wasn't only about the stats and like catches, yards, touchdowns. It was also about what they did on the field to like divert defenders and like get attention drawn to them, right? Which opened up space for JSN to have a very good year. So no matter what you say, DK and Tyler were definitely pillars of the team, and it's really hard to see them go. But, you got to think like, wow, this changes a lot of things about like the draft and among other things. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy to like really think about because, I mean, they've both been on the team for 6+ years. Tyler for 10, so
10 and 6 for the 2, yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy to think about, really.
It's kind of like when Russell Wilson left, right? That same feeling. I think that was a lot more devastating at the time when it happened. But the DK thing it definitely hit me. It's definitely hit me in the gut. But I'm going to have the same feeling as I did with Russell, which is like, I don't want you to succeed on your next team, especially when you're the one telling our team that you want to be traded, right? So, because the last thing I want to do is see him request a trade and then help bring that team to a Super Bowl, right? Because that's only going to make you that much more jealous and envious of where was this the whole time you were with the team, right?
It's funny. It was pretty similar in the sense that like Russell had an injury like a year or two before. I forgot. We kind of saw like a kind of a drop in production, and yeah, I mean it's just like you aren't expecting it, but it also wasn't like complete impossibility, right? Because I guess we won't know as of right now for like the reasoning or what was behind that. But like him and Tyler Lockett pretty much left simultaneously. And I guess I shouldn't say DK is left because he obviously only requested for a trade. But like you said, like when a player requests for a trade, they really want to get out. So, it almost feels like you're keeping them captive if you don't.
Yeah, well, that's the last thing you want to do is keep a emotional player like DK after he said he wants to be on another team, and then you like trap him here. I mean, that's going to go really well, right? It's like keeping a caged animal in prison while you're trying to, go out there and be productive for us. Yeah, right. That's going to happen. Abel, stay on the line. I'm going to go back to you, but I want to get Cavish from the 720, who's got limited time, so I want to get him on here because he's been hanging on for a while. So, Cavish, what's happening, man? Talk to me. What was your reaction to all this news today?
Well, Norb, first off, I just want to say thank you. And it's been 4 years, I think, since I've appeared on your thing last. I don't know if you remember. It was like the Seahawks Cowboys game from 4 years ago. Like DK had that fumble, and I was also on this the Seahawks Patriots one where Cam Newton fumbled on the goal.
Oh, yeah. That the year that we were locked out of the stadium, the COVID year when those games happened.
Yeah,
it was right.
2020.
The no audience games. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, weird games like Twilight Zone-ish. Yeah, well, it's good to have you back on here, man. But yeah, share with me your thoughts on this latest moves, the soon-to-be departure of Lockett and DK.
Well, if I'm being honest, after Russell Wilson left, Tyler Lockett is probably my favorite player on the team. His impact on the team with the Steve Largent awards, all the his character and everything. It's sad to see a presence like that leave our team. But at the same time, I feel like it was a necessary decision because with the salary cap and everything. And with DK Metcalf, again, it's I'm kind of on the fence with it because on the one side, his production was great, obviously, but at the other hand, his personality was really differing from Tyler Lockett, and I don't know if we needed that presence in the locker room.
So you're not so sad to see DK go, in other words.
I feel like this is. I'm kind of sad to see again. He had great production and he was obviously a great a player on our team. But I don't know if his locker room presence and especially if he stays now with the fact that he asked for a trade and all this. I don't know if it's something we really need on the team. So I think it's
obviously when it comes down to it, if somebody says I want to trade, you're kind of telling the team that I don't want to be here for whatever reason, whether it's because I don't think you're going to pay me the money I think I'm worth, or if he truly does want to play for a contender and doesn't think Seattle's going to be one anytime soon. I mean, that's his prerogative, right? So, like I said, I selfishly hope he doesn't find that immediately wherever he ends up going if he doesn't get things worked out with the Seahawks. Yeah. But all the more reason it's going to put the onus is on John Schneider to be able to make the most of this situation, get the highest value possible if DK does in fact get traded,
do you think we're going to do
turn that into something beneficial for the Seahawks. What's that?
What do you think we're going to do this season? If we trade DK Metcalf, do you think it's appropriate to tank, or should we draft a new player, draft a new receiver, and try and go for a contend again?
I've never been a fan of tanking. I don't believe in it, especially as a Seahawks season ticket holder. It's the last thing I want to do is invest in a season where I know, hey, everybody, guess what? We're just going to go out and try to lose as many games as possible. But keep coming to the games and spending your money because, we're going to put a great product out for you, right? So I've never been a fan of that. Now, the question is, you can tank without intentionally trying to tank, but you kind of just strip yourselves of all your greatest players and you're bringing a bunch of new guys who are going to have to gel for at least a year or two. That's the big question, and I wanted to ask, Sky High too, and you as well. Do you think that what happened today, does that alter the course of what they do with Geno, or do you think that Geno's sort of independent of all this, whether DK was going to stay? They kind of knew Lockett was going to go, but do you think we've been pretty much kind of going on the assumption that Geno's probably going to be the quarterback, The coach definitely keeps saying that every time he's asked. And we all, I think a 2-year type of deal where they draft a quarterback here sometime to play underneath him so that by the time he gets through that 2-year window, unless he's leading us to Super Bowls and kicking butt, that the new guy then kind of comes in and takes his spot. Do you think that changes with DK being gone? Do you think the Seahawks would change their strategy? Let me ask, you can answer that, Cavish. Do you think that changes anything for Geno?
Sorry, give me.
Do you think, in lieu of today's events, you think that changes the negotiation strategy for the Seahawks and Geno Smith?
Yeah, I think a little bit because of actually not really. I feel like Geno is independent of this, so I don't think DK impacts that a lot. I feel like Geno's still a short-term quarterback, so I don't see him on the team for more than 2 years, but at the same time, I feel like he's also a really good presence to have in the locker room. And I feel like if we do draft another quarterback, or when we do, Geno will be a great mentor to learn from. So, yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks for the call, man. I appreciate it. I was glad I could squeeze you in here before you had to go. But, as the world turns, the drama will be interesting to watch over the next few months before the draft and the draft itself. So thanks for joining the show, man. I appreciate it. So, Sky High, what do you think? Do you think the Geno situation remains unchanged regardless of what happened today?
No, not really. I think one of the main driving factors for Clint Kubiak to come in and run this offense was Geno Smith's leadership, Geno Smith's skill and ability to be that number one guy. I don't think it really changes. I think Seattle in itself, for the past 3 or 4 years, have been looking at quarterbacks, have been meeting with quarterbacks, have been scouting quarterbacks to try and possibly to draft in the NFL draft. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same this year. It's just a matter of how they feel the draft class is, and if one of these guys is right for them. And if it's right for them, they'll jump on it, and at that point they'll have a plan going forward. But I fully expect Geno Smith to be the starter of this team next year. I don't expect any tanking. I don't expect anything to blow up. I expect this team to come out and be as competitive as possible, which is what Mike McDonald is going to coach them up to be. I don't feel bad for Clint. Clint's got his work cut out for him. Obviously, trading DK, getting rid of Tyler is helping this team point in the direction that Mike McDonald wants it to be, which is this offensive line dominant, strong running ground game team. And getting rid of $20+ million off the books is a big step, especially if you want to bring in an offensive lineman who's a leader, someone who's a veteran, someone who can lead this offensive line, right? We take a look at Kansas City made it to the Super Bowl this year. And can you name, more than 2 guys that were superstar, that were besides their quarterback, that were essentially superstar productive at a superstar level that brought them to the Super Bowl. Eventually ultimately they lost, right? But you look at their teams previous years, they didn't have the best wide receivers in the NFL. Travis Kelce wasn't that number one tight end. He is a number one tight end, right? But he's not consistently producing at those number one tight end levels. They had Patrick Mahomes, right? He's a great, fantastic quarterback. But the mainstay was that offensive line and good coaching and that correct scheme that just fit and that helped drive them to the Super Bowls, helped drive them to build that dynasty. So it's a matter of finding what fits the glove best, essentially. And for Seattle, it's if trading DK Metcalf and releasing Tyler Lockett is going to get them closer to where they want to be. Yeah, it's going to hurt, but it's what's going to happen. And I think Geno is a key integral piece of that. I think Geno has a lot of gas left in the tank, and I think he's going to be that guy.
I've been meaning to put this video together, and I still will, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit here. But we all saw what happened in the Super Bowl with Kansas City. We're just bringing up Gridflow's comment about their offensive line, right? Trey Smith, Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey, all elite. But we saw what happened in the Super Bowl, right? Patrick Mahomes looked very human, maybe subhuman compared to what we normally see from him in that Super Bowl. And why was that? It's because he went up against a defensive line that was superior to their offensive line, right? Philadelphia had him on the run, sacked uncomfortable, and they did it with 4 down linemen. They didn't really blitz. They did it with 4. And for what that looked like to me, with Patrick Mahomes running for his life, pocket collapsing, guys in his face everywhere, that was Geno Smith every single freaking game of the 2024 Seahawks season. And Patrick Mahomes looked very not so good. Right? You look at his stats, he was not your Patrick Mahomes that you're used to. And the Chiefs really kind of skirted by with their record and making to the playoffs with a lot of duct tape and chewing gum, right? They had a lot of games that they weren't exactly like dominating, blowing people out. They were winning by the skin of their teeth. I mean, it was the most fragile, delicate. What was their record at the end of the regular season? 14.
Yeah. But that's what winners. That's what winners do. That's what winners do, right?
But more than other years, they really skirted by a lot of luck, right? And sometimes you just got to have a lot of luck, but more years than normal. But my point being is that, if Patrick Mahomes had games like that and line play like that on a regular basis, even Patrick Mahomes didn't look good. And you don't say that very often. And my case being the comparison is that that's the result that you get in that game, a blowout. And like I said, Geno Smith and that line play looked a lot like what Patrick Mahomes faced in the Super Bowl, but on a regular basis, more often than not. So even the best quarterback looks like garbage when their line doesn't pass protect well, when they can't run the football. And the entire season, 2024, Geno Smith and our running backs, for that matter, all were behind a line that did not protect well, did not open up holes. So I'm that much more excited, and we're going to have to do a breakdown at some point when you have time, Sky High, but I really want to look at this outside zones concept that Kubiak is famous for, because it is well talked about, and I finally did some researching to try to really understand what's the difference between a regular offensive line scheme versus this outside zone that they talk so highly about, that has been a derivative of the Shanahan tree and has worked its way down to Kubiak and now to Clint Kubiak. And it's interesting. It does change the way the line is built and the way they have to move, because it's not just a big guy trying to hit the big guy in front of you. It's much more teamwork and a lot of lateral movement, which could bode well for the Seahawks running game, especially for Kenneth Walker and maybe even our existing linemen, that maybe the right scheme for them might actually be what's coming their way. At least I'm hoping so. So we'll see. But I do want to see your deep dive in kind of a breakdown of how the outside zone scheme of Kubiak works. So we'll get into that in the next episode sometime here. Let's bring a couple more callers here before we wrap things up. But let's bring up Matthew from the 360 Washington caller. Matthew, what's up? Thanks for hanging on. Matthew, there? Hello, Matthew. Yeah. Matthew, what's up?
Hello?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. You're on live with NorbCam and Sky High Aviation. Just want to get your thoughts. Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, your reaction.
Tyler Lockett, I wasn't surprised by. I mean, apparently his cap hit was pretty big, and with the production that he put out on the field, I don't think that's worth keeping. DK, the trade rumors have been swirling around like crazy, and some of them I kind of roll my eyes over, but this definitely does seem serious. But I'm not too I'm not too happy about this right now, but I mean the timing was really bad, but then again, I mean, even if Lockett got released and then Metcalf announced this later, the timing would still be bad. So,
well, it was going to have to happen in the next few days, because next week is when all the free agent tampering period happens. So it was going to be sometime this week, inevitably. Just didn't see that coming. So I take it then you were a hope that DK would stay type of guy?
Yeah, I would have loved for him to stay. I think him and Jackson Smith-Njigba are a fantastic wide receiver duo. Like, they had a game against the Patriots Or let me pull it up. Against the Patriots in Week 2, DK Metcalf had 10 catches for 129 yards and a touchdown, and Jackson Smith and Jigba had 12 catches for 117 yards. I mean, he didn't have any touchdowns, but I'm like, that's insane production from your wide receivers. And now I'm not sure what our plan with Geno is, but Geno's got one more year left on his deal, and the thing I would love to do is to hopefully get a new young quarterback so he can sit behind Geno for a year, and then we can let Geno walk, and then the new quarterback comes in. And now our offensive line is obviously not very good, but hopefully by then our defense will be more established, hopefully be one of the better units and definitely more consistent. And then you pair up the and then you pair the young quarterback with Metcalf and JSN. I was like, I would have been all for that. But
yeah,
Travis Hunter on the Seahawks would be crazy. I don't think we're going to get him.
Yeah, well, I guess if we get the picks and they want to kind of move up, potentially that could happen. We're not going to get. I don't think he's going to be there at 18, but maybe if they get some kind of great deal out of DK in the trade. But I think first round is very optimistic, wishful thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, we to upgrade our offensive line. I mean, I heard you guys talking about Patrick Mahomes just running for his life. If your quarterback is constantly getting pressured all the time and he's just getting sacked, then who cares about who your receivers are if your quarterback's just going to get killed back there?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I've been saying. You know, there's so many people. It's so fun. It's still hilarious to me how many people are so anti-Geno, and I just still think people are like not seeing the big picture. It's so easy just to throw everything on. Well, I'm not happy with the results, so who's our quarterback? It's him. It's all him. But at some point, you got to step it up, and this is kind of it, right? So if he does in fact get that deal, well, we got to make it work because God, we've gotten so many coordinators over the last 4 or 5 years that we need to get some stability there, right? Finally, a match that works. But and I'm optimistic because now that we got Mike Macdonald again, pretty good first season despite all the things we're complaining about. He had a very good first season, and he came in late. He didn't even go to the combine last year. So there felt like it was a disconnect between him, the coordinator picks, the draft picks. I feel like, like we let our 2 linebackers go mid-season. It felt like, Mike Macdonald was like, okay, you know what? We're definitely not on the same page. This whole thing was kind of constructed. I was just sort of thrown these guys in and let's fix this the best we can. But now it's like, okay, there's no excuses, right? He's been in there from day one now. All involved on the coaching decisions, assistant coach positions, the draft. So everything now, he's going to be putting his own stamp on it. So hopefully we'll see the real Mike Macdonald team that is built from the ground up and not here's what we're handing you, make do with this. Because that's really what it felt like. So, so we'll see.
Because, he was only with the Ravens for 2 seasons, and he turned that defense
around. Yeah, for sure.
But also have a reputation of always having a good defense, but it was like year 2, he was like they had the best defense in the NFL. And when you look at some of these coordinators, like the Lions coordinators, for instance, they've been around for like 4 years. And obviously they're amazing. They got their job upgrades, but it's like Mike Macdonald was only there for 2 years, and right away he cemented himself as one of the best defensive-minded head coaches.
Well, he turned the Seattle defense around. Granted, it wasn't everything we wanted it to be, but how it started and how it ended, he definitely turned it around in similar fashion. We just, offensively, just didn't quite carry their end of the bargain. If we got to run the football a little bit more and a few less turnovers and a little bit better protection, we were right there. We were this close, man. Yeah. We were that close, just like last year. We were this close, 1 field goal away from making the playoffs the year before. And this year, we were 1 game away from making the playoffs. That's how razor thin the margin is. But we had so many opportunities. This was a year of blown opportunities, but it was just because a lot of little things added up. So
the Rams game hurt so bad.
That's twice, man. The Rams game twice. Last year, I'm talking 23, the field goal miss in a game that we were up like 14-0 in their house. Should have won that one. That would have sent us to the playoffs. And then this year, God, this is even worse. That Rams game that we lost in overtime, that's going to go down as one of the biggest, how did we lose that freaking game?
I was at that game with a friend of mine, and just I just remember that crowd just being so frustrated throughout the entire thing. But that game time drive he led was phenomenal.
It was awesome. Geno, everybody talks about the bad picks in the red zone, which were terrible, right? I mean, granted, you can break it down. There's reasons that those things happen. He got hit when he was trying to throw the ball, and the other one, the tight end, he was trying to get the ball to, got caught up and held, actually. But besides all that, he actually overcame that and sent him into overtime. And like I said, beautiful drive that people don't talk about that. They just talk about all the horrible red zone interceptions and don't bring up the fact that Geno still led them to overtime after that. And then, God, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. We run the football and get a first down. We probably win that game.
Couldn't even run the ball with 8 offensive linemen out there.
I was not happy. I was not happy about that 4th and 1.
It was 3rd and 1. It was 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1. Went for it. Could have had the go-ahead field goal, but you kind of knew that if we didn't keep that drive going. But we got to be, and that's why I'm hopeful for the Clint Kubiak system. If it is everything is cracked up to be, that 3rd and 1 won't be the PTSD nightmare that we had in 2024. Where I don't know about you guys, but every time I saw 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, I had no faith that we were going to get it. And 9 times out of 10, we didn't.
Oh.
We'd go backwards. We'd lose 3 instead of going forward a yard. Whereas you watch all these playoff teams, they can get a yard like that, right? And they're still talking about trying to ban the tush push. I think when you get to a point where every team can do the tush push and automatically get a first down, then you ban the play. But if only one team can do it to perfection, you don't ban that play. That's just the guy going, well, we're not as good as you guys are, so I don't want you doing it. That's not fair. You guys have this unfair. No, it's like, okay, well, be better at it. Do it like they do. Anyway, I'm just going off on a side rant. But
tell them, Lord.
One freaking yard, dog.
But here's the thing: the Eagles have a phenomenal offensive line, and we don't. And I think that was one of the reasons why we could not do the 3rd and short, 4th and short conversions, because our run blocking was terrible. I remember many plays. Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet would get the ball, and they would have to bounce to the outside right away because
there's a guy right in their face. Yeah, guy right by the center or right by the guard. He's right there at the point of the handoff, trying to survive.
Yes.
Can you imagine how many games we would have won if we had a tush push guaranteed play that we can get 1 yard on, right? Because the Eagles is pretty much almost unstoppable. If it's 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, they are getting that first down. It doesn't matter that they know it's coming. They cannot stop it. How many games we would have won in addition if we could have converted 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 when it counted? I can name at least 3 games that we would have won if we could have converted 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. Rams for sure. And there's a few others in there that I can't pull off right now. But, over the last few years, there were games where a 3rd and 1 cost us the game. A 4th and 1 cost us the game. And more often than not, we were very bad at converting us.
You're so right, Norb. Just so many games over the years that just 1 yard cost us the game.
We won't talk about another certain game that was 1 yard. Crazy, man. Anyway, well, this is kind of therapeutic to get all this out because, it sucks to have to just hear this news. And, luckily I was around people today during this production shoot to talk a little bit about football, but not with my peeps, man, the ones who really know what's going on. And, we kind of got that inside. We can share all this information that we've all been swimming with and know so much about our team. I mean, make some sense out of it. I have this buddy of mine. He's actually a Seahawks fan, neighbor of mine, but he's also a Vikings fan because he grew up in Minnesota, so he's a fan of both teams. But he's the most cynical guy I know. So he's hard pressed to ever say anything positive about the Seahawks, and usually he has the longest ass text rants whenever something bad happens. Well, today, here we go. After the news came out, Metcalf and Lockett gone. Seahawks continue to find ways to get worse. I don't know that losing Lockett was a big deal, but if you lose a DK and Lockett, it's awful. DK will end up on some team like the Bills, and he's going to go off. No one wants to play for the Hawks. It's an undesirable place for players that want a chance to win the trophy.
Oh, boy.
That
Talk
is
about a Debbie Downer
ultimate
right there.
cynical downer. He's like the Muttley. There was a character in Hanna-Barbera, for those of you who grew up in the 80s. Hanna-Barbera had this show, and they had a dog, or a character, I think his name was Muttley, I think, and he was always negative. It was always, we're doomed. We're not going to make it, right? It kind of reminds me of that, but can't blame him until we prove him wrong, so... Anyway, I get these rants. Like, we have a bad Seahawks loss, and I just look at my phone. Oh, it's coming. And I get an earful, whole-page essay about how bad our team is. And anyway, he complained about his Vikings, too, because Vikings kind of crapped the bed, too, in the playoffs. Talk about a bad season ending, right? At least we didn't have to have our heart broken that badly. The Vikings, man, having this dominant NFC record, and then they go to the playoffs, complete... Just, what the hell was that, man? The Vikings just didn't even show up.
The game against the Lions was just as bad, and that was when everyone started doubting them, and then they played the Rams, and everyone's like, oh, they blew that.
You got to feel bad, man. I feel so bad for... Yeah, Detroit. I mean, I was rooting hard for those guys, man. And that, talk about a sad season, those guys. Ravens, same thing, man. Talk about tough ends. Yeah. That Ravens loss, that was a brutal one. Bills, for that matter, right? The Bills should have won that game. They almost did, even after that play when Josh Allen threw it up for grabs. It looked like there was going to be no one there, and the tight end was right there, and he should have caught it. After looking at the replay, it's like, damn, Josh Allen actually gave him a ball he could catch. And for the second week, on the same weekend, championship weekend, the two tight ends failed to make a catch to keep the game alive. Tough to pay for tight ends.
And everyone claims everyone claims the NFL is rigged, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know the referees made Dalton Kincaid drop that pass. Like,
yeah, I know. I love how it's all scripted. Like, some of these endings. Mark Andrews. They scripted him to drop that 3-yard pitch and catch or whatever that would have sent him into overtime. That was brutal.
But then again. But then again, the Chiefs get destroyed against the Eagles, and the NFL is no longer rigged. And I'm like, no, I don't. No,
I know.
No,
I even made a video before the Super Bowl talking about how it was scripted and the Chiefs were supposed to win that game, right? Because if you were to go off the script, the Chiefs should have won. It made no sense to have the Eagles win the way they did, because that makes no sense in any script form that the NFL. Who would want to blow out in the Super Bowl? That's nobody wants that script. So clearly the script. Maybe the writers quit and went on strike before the Super Bowl and they didn't write the final chapter. But yeah, weird ending to the whole season. But yeah, the Eagles deserved it. They got it. So anyway, it's crazy. Well, thanks, Matthew. Appreciate you. You have to call more often, man, because you got good stuff. A lot of people on the chat saying I'm with Matthew. Matthew's cooking, man. They got a lot of people fans of yours, man.
I've been seeing that. I have you up on my laptop, and then my phone is right next to
Oh, so you're watching. You're watching. I'm putting up all the comments right now of all the fans that Matthew's got out there. Matthew's getting
T-Man.
T-Man. I remember a T-Man. Anyway, all right. Well, thanks for chiming in. I got one more call to get on here before I wrap things up. So we're gonna bring somebody else from the Washington area. But Matthew, it's a pleasure talking to you.
Right before you leave, do you see the Tay Francis one? The writers took the Game of Thrones route with the 2024 season.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I like to. Yeah, screw the ending. Let's just wrap this thing up. We're done. Very good comment.
Shout out to Tay Francis.
That was good. YouTube's some of the best writers are people who write comments on YouTube, or really on any platform, right? Instagram, TikTok. Sometimes some of the best stuff is just reading people's comments. Never cease to amaze me how creative you guys get. So, good stuff, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Well,
later, man. Thanks for joining the show. Appreciate it. All right, let's go to our final call of the night. This is from the 425. Who are we talking to up here?
Hello.
Hi there. Who's this?
Yep.
All right. Got the right location. A little bit north from where I'm at. Well, you're the last caller, so, man, you get the final word. What word do you say to wrap up this strange and sad Seahawks day, losing Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf?
Man, it's just been a roller coaster of a day for me.
Yeah, I hear you, brother.
Yeah.
Walk me through it, how you found out and what your reaction was.
Well, I was in school, and class just ended, so I pulled out my phone, and I saw that Tyler Lockett got dropped, and I was like, oh, I was all sad in that. And then I heard, and then, like, when I got to my next class, I looked on my computer, and I was, like, looking to see, like, more information on it. And then I scrolled up on my page, and I see DK Metcalf wants to get traded. And I was like, come on.
I thought it was like a rumor, you know, some BS post, you know, initially.
Yeah. Yeah, so same with me.
So what was your feeling on that? I mean, I know you're sad to, you know, we all were sad to see Lockett officially done. It's kind of like, you know, if you had somebody on the hospital bed, you know that their days were numbered, but you kind of know the end is coming. But even though you know it's coming, it's still sad because when you get to the end, it's still, no matter how much you're prepared for it, it still gets you. But the DK thing was definitely a punch in the gut. Were you expecting the Seahawks to re-sign DK?
Yeah, I thought they were rolling on re-signing DK, definitely, because even though he didn't have that good of a season this year, he definitely has had a great career with the Seahawks. Yeah,
I think we all did. I think if, you know, the reality may have come to fruition if, you know, they start. Let's say he didn't request a trade, and we start hearing, you know, the two sides are on very different sides of the bargaining table right now. DK, the Seahawks, looks like the agent and the John Schneider are not quite on the same. You know, it could have gone, you know, that way too, and we could have found it happen and just take, you know, longer in the process if money came down to be what it is. And if Seahawks just didn't want to pay what DK wanted, then that's kind of where it's going to end up at. But I don't know. We'll find out where he goes and how much he's going to be worth. But no matter what, you know, I'm with everybody. I think we all hope that John Schneider can somehow finagle it. You know, like what they did with Russell Wilson, right? We were like thieves. The way they got the haul of draft picks and capital that we got when Russell went to the Broncos and the ultimate failure experiment that turned out to be. Aren't the Broncos still paying for Russell Wilson's salary? Or maybe that ended last year. But, you know, definitely Denver took the low end of that side. But, you know, could Schneider work out some kind of deal where DK goes to another team and we finagle some? I think the hype around Russ was so high, but I think people know what they're getting out of DK. Unless someone's just convinced and brainwashed that they're going to turn DK into the next Randy Moss and that we just, for 6 years, didn't know how to use him, and they're going to find some way to give him 2,000 yards a season and tons of touchdowns and Hall of Fame type numbers. But I don't know. What would that team be? Maybe the Packers. I could see like the Packers could be a team that could be a pretty good fit the way they tore us up this year.
Yeah, I feel like we could trade DK to the Rams, and we could get like Cooper Kupp in return as like replacement.
Isn't Cooper Kupp?
That could be.
Isn't Cooper Kupp already? Didn't they release him already?
I don't know.
Sky High isn't. I thought Cooper Kupp was already. Did they let him go?
Cooper Kupp, they're right now actively shopping him. So.
Oh, so he's like kind of like DK, right?
Yeah,
that's right. He requested a trade too.
Yeah.
He's kind of in the same boat. That's right. He did. He wanted to be traded as well. So him and DK are in the same boat. Yeah. Same boat. Oh, wouldn't that be weird? How would that work out if Cooper Kupp came to Seattle and DK went to the Rams? Would that be so like
Cooper Kupp's back in his own home?
Equal hostage swap and get the same results, or would one be a better deal than the other? That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp's not the Cooper Kupp of what he was like 3-4 years ago, though. He's definitely got some battle scars and some worn-out tires. But he does not. I thought he wanted. Oh no, that's right. Sorry, my bad. You were right. Battle Tune PWN. He didn't want to be traded. The Rams are the ones who said they're going to trade him. He wanted to stay. That's right. My bad. I totally flipped that around. He didn't want to be traded.
Oh.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
I mixed that up. Yeah, he actually wanted to stay. So they're a totally different situation.
Yeah.
But no, we'll
Yeah.
see. I still think it'd be pretty funny if Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett, and DK Metcalf went to the Raiders and rejoined Pete Carroll. I would tune in and be a huge Raider fan if that happened.
That'd be
because
funny.
it'd be fun to watch. It's like Seahawks 2.0 in the desert. So
Yeah, that'd be great. I really want to see Tyler Lockett play again because he is getting old though, and I don't really want to see him retire, especially like right now, because he played a really good season, a really good career, and I really want to see him reunite with Pete Carroll again.
That would be interesting. The thing about, I think Tyler Lockett, I think he could still play. I don't think he's like so old that he can't catch the football anymore. Speed was never his game, so he was always just a great runner. But because I remember when Doug Baldwin retired, because you can kind of compare Doug Baldwin and Tyler Lockett. They're similar in the way that their games are made, right? They were never the fastest guy on the team, never the biggest, but they have really good hands, really good routes, and they just kind of, you can count on them. But I remember Doug Baldwin. It was kind of sad when Doug Baldwin's career came to an end because I remember he was the victim of a lot of injuries. He got to a point where it was hard for him to stay on the field. But Lockett really hasn't had that problem. Again, credit him to the getting down on the ground and not trying to battle for extra yards, and that's what kept him to where he could stay on the field. So I think in the right team, he could probably be still a pretty productive, possession receiver. So yeah, if he wants to, I'm sure he could still find a place to play with somebody. It'd be sad to see him in another uniform. It's always hard, like watching Bobby Wagner go to these other teams, and Rams and then the Commanders.
Apparently, Bobby Wagner is might become a free agent, or the Commanders might trade him. I don't know.
I don't know how much Bobby's going to take. He had a pretty good year last year, but he's getting up there, man. I'm surprised Bobby's gone this long, but he's the
last remaining one.
Yep. But yeah, I don't think he's coming back to Seattle again. I think he had his return and leaving again. I think that's probably going to be it. But we'll see. All right. Well, thanks, Jacob. Thanks for jumping in and joining the show, man. You were the last guy, and I appreciate you coming in and having the last word. Have a good night, man.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. Go Hawks. All right. Well, sky high. It's just you and me, man, and the rest of the people watching.
It is. I'm so hungry and so tired
and you look
right now.
Tired. You look so tired, and I was going to say that's what you exactly look like. So I'm going to let you get back to your life because it's like 10:17 over there.
11:17, and I still got to watch Severance.
Oh, it's 11:17?
Yeah, I still got to watch Severance tonight. So
that's right. We're 2 hours of. Oh, are you a Severance fan?
I am a Severance fan. That's a weird show, man.
I watched the first episode, the first season. I loved it. I've been a little bit slow going getting into the second season. It was hard for me. I don't know. I didn't quite get drawn in as much on the second season. Are you in the second season already?
No, I'm still in the first season, but almost done.
Oh, the first season is great. I did not get into the second. The first season is awesome.
That's
for sure.
I can totally see that happening for real down the line, though. I get that's the scary thing. So yeah. Imagine just getting your life severed, pretty much. So, but yeah,
a great show, and I just got my parents hooked on it, and I don't think as many people know about it. But me as a kid who grew up as a Harrison Ford fan, have you seen any of the Yellowstone shows or any of their derivative shows?
Yeah. So like Yellowstone and Landman and all those types of shows, they all have the same producer or director, but I think they're really,
Taylor Sheridan.
They're pretty good.
No, but I'm talking specifically Yellowstone. It's Yellowstone's the main series with Kevin Costner, and then there's 1923 and 1883. They're basically prequels to each other. So 1883 is like the start of it all. 1923 is like the early turn of the century, but same family. Harrison Ford is in that one.
I gotta grind out and watch I guess I gotta find like a way to watch them all in order for it to make sense. But
you don't really have to. You don't have to watch them in order. You can watch each one independently, and none of them would sort of like, oh my God, I didn't understand it because I didn't see it, because they kind of take place. The only thing you got to know is that the family just sort of the name is kind of carried through. But 1923 is a great show, and I think it's some of Harrison Ford's best work. I was like watching and going, oh my God, Harrison Ford is awesome in this. This is some of the best acting I've seen, and it's a really It's a really good show. They just started their second season, so I highly recommend 1923. It's
there you go.
You know, I'm not a big Western guy typically, but if it's good, I'll watch it. And man, after watching Yellowstone and all these shows, I was like, man, I should put on a cowboy hat and maybe like learn how to ride horses and kick it around in the West.
There you go. There you go. Look at that.
What do you think, man? Yeah, me and the doggies, we go out there in the field. What's that?
I do
Filipino
like the
cowboy.
Western. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I got my parents hooked. We watched like the first 3 episodes of 1923, and yeah, I'm gonna try to binge a few more. But I've already seen it. Like, I watched it the first time, and I sort of pseudo watched it twice. When I say pseudo watch, it's like laundry folding watching or working on a computer watching, where you have it on the background, but you're not really watching. Yeah, that kind of watching. So anyway, it's great stuff. All right. So, hi, I know you're tired. You got to get to your stuff, but thanks, man. It's good to see you.
I appreciate it, Norb. We're gonna.
Good luck.
Do some research on Clint Kubiak. See what I can find. Spring break's
outside zone.
Week, so.
The outside zone scheme, man. It's very interesting.
It's gonna be interesting. I'm excited for this team. A lot of people concerned, but it's gonna be good, guys. Just trust the process.
Trust the process. I know. In John we trust, right? Until we don't.
Until we don't.
All right. Yeah. Well, to everybody, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate all the comments. You guys are awesome. Some hilarious stuff in here. Oh, look at Sentai Ranger Donnie is stuck on season 1 of 1923 as well. I'm glad they finally got season 2, because 1923 leaves you like, no, you're going to end here? That's the end of the season? You guys suck. And then they finally came out with season 2. So, yeah, great to watch. All right. Well, good night, everybody. If any other updates come, and there will be coming. There's going to be more news, more moves to come in the next few days, and definitely next week. So we will keep. I'm going to be more regular with content coming up, just to let you know, because I've been a little bit off. But a lot of it has to do with the fact that my last daughter's getting ready to go to college, and we have a lot of college decisions to make, and where she's going to go, and all that stuff. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun year, like you said, Sky High. All right, Sky, go get some food, get some rest.
Yeah. Oh,
you
I'm
guys
done.
have a great.
Yeah. Thank you.
You guys have a great rest of your evening, and I'm gonna until I update it, I'm gonna go kick it off with this intro, not the usual Hawks Real Talk, but the one that has now soon to be two former Seahawks.
Oh man.
We'll see you guys later. Go Hawks.
Yo, I'm Kenneth Walker, running back for the Seattle Seahawks.
Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks.
DK Metcalf.
KJ Wright.
Hey, Burleson. You're watching NorbCam. NorbCam.
You're watching NorbCam.
Go Hawks.